Welcome to the John and Lebo Show, back for another episode. Today, we're going to be talking about the A-Rod retirement, a little NFL, the state of the MLB a little bit, and I know, John, you want to touch on the Olympics. How you been otherwise?
I've been good. It's been a while since we've done a show, but there's a lot going on right now in the summer. I know this is like a dog month, like August, but with the Olympics starting up, everything that happened today, this morning with Alex Rodriguez, New York Yankees, what they're doing, you got the NFL starting. We are not going to have another Sunday without football until February.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It's so great. NFL Sunday is by far the best day of the week. When during football season, obviously, that makes Sunday the best day of the week.
It's why God made it the day of rest. Am I right?
No,
Is that not why he did that? I thought. Okay, maybe I read
the
the Old
pamphlet.
Testament wrong. Yeah, I read the pamphlet wrong. That the guy who says you'll burn in hell handed out. Um, so let's talk about A-Rod. Let's just get right into it. A-Rod today, if you're just listening, we're recording this on the 7th of August. Uh, he announced his retirement. He's retiring on Friday against the Rays. Gives the Yankees enough time to do promotional stuff, make some money out of it, which is probably the reason they accepted this. Because I don't know if you heard, they wanted to cut him a couple days ago.
I
I think
know.
him and his agent went to the Yankees saying, "Hey, how about instead of that, let's do this." So he gets a little bit of a mini tour, a mini retirement tour, and and people will be able to pay their respects. And what are your initial, reactions to this?
I like that they're keeping him on board. I mean, he's the highest paid special advisor, I think, ever. Because they're honoring his contract and paying him, and they're not reaching a buyout. And I think that it's good that they're doing this because he's really just meant so much to this franchise that he's staying around and he's going to help them out in ways that he can honestly even be really effective in doing. I know it's just a BS job just to keep him on board, but he's going to help guys out because if anyone who's been around the block, I don't think there's anyone that's been really everywhere when it comes to making mistakes and also having greatness and coming back from it and being able to play well than A-Rod. He knows how to play through adversity. So I really like that they're keeping him on board. I mean, yeah, they're still paying him a lot of money, but it shows a lot of respect. And with everything that happened, they still support him. He's done a lot for this franchise. He's an unbelievable player. He should be a Hall of Famer, even though who knows when he'll get in there because of, obviously the committee. But I really, I really think that he's really just going to take on this new role, and who knows what's going to happen for him after baseball. And I saw possibilities that he could end up playing elsewhere. We don't really know, like
No,
later on.
I think he's done. Um, I I think this is just a mutually beneficial move for both the Yankees and A-Rod. The Yankees get to make some money out of promoting the fact that he's retiring, and then Friday night they're playing the Rays, which is a crappy team. The Yankees, another crappy team. How are they going to sell tickets other than doing this? Um, and it's just both teams now on the surface, or both sides now on the surface seem like they're on good terms. Even if that's not the case, I think this is a business move. Realistically, I think A-Rod has kind of mended his image a little bit. I think he's probably learned from the mistakes he has made. But at the end of the day, I don't think the Yankees did this because they're buddy with A-Rod. I think they did this because they're going to make money out of it. They were contractually obligated to pay him the rest of that contract,
Oh
as we
yeah,
just read. So,
yeah.
I mean, how else would they have done it? Cut ties with A-Rod, and then on kind of a sour note, him having a terrible last year of his career, or last year with the Yankees hitting around the Mendoza line, or you had this farewell tour, this mini farewell tour, where you can make some money out of it, and you bring him on as a special advisor to mend that image, and both sides benefit from this. I think it was just a smart business move at the end of the day. I don't think either side really loves each other all that much. I just think they both want to have that image. A-Rod's a guy who's going to work in media. We've seen him on Fox Sports. We've seen him be an analyst. He's good at it. He's very good at it. So he wants to have an image where people respect him, people like him. He wants to be a likable guy. And by doing this, I think that's one step closer to being that guy.
I mean, who knows what he's going to do after he's done baseball? Everything's really up in the air for him, what direction he goes in. But it's really sad. But it also shows you what direction the Yankees are going in. Teixeira's done. A-Rod's done. They're moving guys like Chapman, moving guys like Miller, moving Beltran, getting all of these prospects, making them now a top farm system in baseball. They're a team that's really trying to make moves and make moves now, and they're really sellers. We haven't seen this with the Yankees ever
Yeah, and
in all my time of being alive now. They've got to get rid of all these guys. They got rid of Miller. They got this guy Frazier, and a lot of young prospects from the Indians with the Chapman trade, the Adam Warren, not to mention a few guy Torres and a few other guys like that are really promising prospects. So they've got a lot in their farm system, and it's going to be a really promising team for the future. They're making a lot of great moves.
yeah, I mean, they got rid of, as you mentioned, Miller, Chapman, Beltran. Teixeira's going to be gone. A-Rod's going to be gone. I don't know why they kept on McCann. I'm sure they tried to trade him. But the fact is, they're trying to get their young talent up. And this reminds me a lot of what the Red Sox did in 2012 in that trade with the Dodgers to get rid of Beckett, Josh Beckett, Carl Crawford, and Adrian Gonzalez, get rid of all that cap room. And they brought in Nick Punto, of all people, who's a scrub. This is pretty much what they're doing. And the Red Sox the season after won the World Series. I don't know if that's going to happen with the Yankees. I'm not sure. I don't know if they have enough young talent to do that. I don't know if they have the pitching. You know, the Red Sox still had guys like John Lester and Dustin Pedroia after that season, and David Ortiz and all these guys. The Yankees don't really have that great of a foundation, at least at the MLB level. But this definitely heightens their farm system. But I think it's going to be a rebuild process. I think that next year you're going to see them probably. Obviously, we don't know what type of moves they're going to make, but it's hard for me to imagine they'll be a playoff team next year. I think that this team has a rebuilding process ahead of them, and it's going to be tougher. This is the first time we've ever seen them sell in our lifetime, and the fact is, it's an even playing field. This is the first time in the MLB that teams like the Cubs and the Nationals and the Indians have all been top tier teams. And it's because everyone can get these high end free agents. And you didn't have that 10, 15, 20 years ago. The Yankees are not the team that can buy anything they want now. It's an even playing field. Everyone can buy a player.
I think what they're hoping is, and I think like since A-Rod's done, they're going to be able to bring up someone else and really just bring these young guys up as soon as possible.
Yeah,
I think they want to make sure, ideally, because in 2018 there's a lot of big free agents out there, like Bryce Harper and such, and just a lot of guys that they could potentially get. So maybe if their young talent comes up and shows the potential that they have, and then they're able to get some of these guys, like maybe a Bryce Harper or something along those lines,
yeah,
then they'll be dangerous very soon. But obviously, it would be a waiting process for sure. But obviously, a lot of moves they're making. I like all the stuff that they're doing. A-Rod, obviously, it's really sad because he meant so much to the franchise. They were talking about him in this morning on ESPN. Brian Cashman was doing a press conference, and they were talking about A-Rod and about what he's meant to the franchise, and all he did was take off his World Series ring in 2009 and just put it down. And he said, I wouldn't have this without Alex Rodriguez. So he's clearly meant a lot, and that's why they want to keep him on board. They don't want to just cut him and have him walk and end a great long relationship that they had. I know it's been bumpy.
Do we forget the fact that the Yankees tried to cut ties with him after he was suspended? Because I'm not going to forget about that. I think that this is purely, but I don't think it's completely genuine what's going on here. I think this is a business move for both sides. I honestly do. I honestly do. And Brian Cashman taking his ring off. That's a cliche thing to do. And obviously, A-Rod played a huge part in that team. There's no doubt about it. But the fact is, they never really got along. These past 3 years, it's been a rocky road for these guys. And a lot of the reason it's mended now is because A-Rod kind of acknowledged his wrongdoing. But it doesn't change the fact that the Yankees tried to cut him, and they tried to cut ties with him a couple years ago. And if he didn't have that season last year where he hit 30-something home runs, they would have done it again. So I don't know if it's that genuine. I think at the end of the day, it's just a good move for each side. And also, I think I'm one of the few guys who thinks that guys like Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Alex Rodriguez should be first ballot Hall of Famers. And I think the fact that they took PEDs shouldn't keep them out of the Hall because it was a part of the game when they played. That's my opinion. They're great baseball players regardless, and that's a Red Sox fan saying that.
I think I agree with you there on a lot of those. It was just an era of baseball where a lot of guys did that, and they're really being punished for it. Who knows if any of these guys, even like Pete Rose or whatever, if any of them will ever get to it.
Well, Pete Rose doesn't deserve it. That's where I draw the
Well,
line.
that's a lot of like gambling issues, but I'm saying he's the greatest hitter of all time.
Yeah, but the thing is, he was betting on baseball while he was a manager. So he's betting on his team, and if you're betting on your team, that's just as bad as betting against your team because you might pitch a guy, your best reliever, 4 days in a row, end up ruining their arm and affecting their career drastically because you had $25,000 in that game. I think Pete Rose is kind of scummy, to be honest, and he never stopped gambling on baseball. That's why Rob Manfred didn't put him in the Hall. If he stopped gambling, then I'd be like, all right, he's learned his lesson. You can put him in because not as a coach, but as a player for sure. But the fact is, he never stopped gambling. He had a problem. But that's for a different discussion. I think PEDs, that was just the culture in the late '90s, early 2000s, and even the early '90s. So to punish all these guys for it, I think it's ludicrous. They're trying to make money and keep their jobs.
Yeah. Look, I wasn't trying to completely condone everything that was done with Pete Rose. I'm just saying, guys who had that much of an impact to the game getting snubbed along those lines. There's a lot of people that think that Pete Rose should be in it. I'm indifferent towards it, but I was just saying a lot of guys that are all-time greats and all-time talents, obviously not getting in there because of that. And you see this the most in baseball than in any other sport.
Yeah, for sure. It's a corrupt sport. That's a definite thing. You
Did,
want to talk
did you,
NFL? What was that?
yeah. I was going to say, did you watch the Hall of Fame inductions last night?
I didn't. I never watch them, to be honest. I just get bored listening to these speeches. They're especially NFL. They're written by guys who've been battered their entire career. I heard Brett Favre had a decent speech, though. I didn't end up
Did
listening
you
to
know
it.
that his speech was actually sponsored by Wrangler jeans?
Is
Did you
that
know
Joe?
that? Did you know that? No, it actually was.
Really?
No, I'm not. It was a joke. No, but I mean,
Copperfit. I heard Copperfit was a secondary sponsor for that too.
yeah, no, Brett Favre, yeah, and he was also promoting Touch of Gray because he had the all gray hair in that.
Yeah, that
Those
he
ads
was.
too.
Yeah, he's not using touch of gray, evidently.
And he was
But
also
yeah,
he gave a shout out to John Gruden for his Gruden's QB camp episode that he did this week. Did you see that? Did you see that Gruden's QB camp
I
episode?
didn't. I watched some of them when he does it with the draft prospects, but
Yeah, no, but this was look, I've seen Gruden, like I've seen this camp live. Actually, I saw it once. I saw Garoppolo's
yeah.
actually, but this one was just at one point with him and Brett Favre, Gruden was just dancing in the studio. I don't know what he was doing, and he's just dancing like to I don't even know what the context of him dancing.
He's a weird guy. I
He
love
loves
him though.
football.
I love
He
John
loves
Gruden.
football. He'll be with Sean McDonough in the fall
Yep.
fall Monday night.
Tarico's gone.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see how that goes. But anyway, yeah, the speeches last night were pretty good. I mean, nothing too crazy. Obviously, it was the same old stuff every year. Guys had really long speeches. It's really just a great way to start off a football season, preseason with that stuff. And you got preseason starting this week. All these games, all these guys coming up. Obviously, people really just start to really just get overexcited about teams because they see how guys play in the preseason. I think the Pats go 0-4 in the preseason every year.
Pretty much.
Sam Bradford was 10 for 10 for 220 yards and 4 touchdowns against the Packers, and Eagles fans were completely convinced that they were going to win the Super Bowl because of those numbers in that game. And that's just how you can't take preseason too seriously. But everything's getting going now. The NFL is getting really interesting. You have a lot of guys moving. You have a lot of quarterback controversies. You have a lot of new coaches, a lot of new faces under center, a lot of teams that are up and coming. There's a lot to look forward to this year in the NFL. And it's going to be a great season. You have new coach, a new quarterback in Cleveland. You have a new quarterback in Houston. You have like 8 new coaches, I believe. So there's a lot going on. It's going to be a great season. You have the Brady suspension. You have teams up and coming like the Raiders, the Vikings, the Jaguars. You have Brock Osweiler in Houston. You've got guys that are trying to come back. You got Ryan Fitzpatrick just re-signing his deal. Doug Peterson coaching the Eagles, completely new training staff. You have Jim Schwartz in all these media conferences bashing the Eagles defense. There's just a lot going on, and it's going to be definitely a very interesting season, but I'm excited.
I'm as well. I'm excited with this. Obviously I'm in New England. I'm focused on the Pat situation, but the Jets, Brandon Marshall, I think he might be going back to his old ways a little bit. I'm on Twitter a lot, and I follow some people from Chicago, and obviously the Bears have had plenty of experiences with a guy like Brandon Marshall. And just the other day, he got into a little bit of a scrum with Darrelle Revis. Before that, he got frustrated at the end of practice and just punted the football for like 45 minutes after practice. And it's just like the guy's a little bit of a loose cannon. And I'm just wondering if he's going to go back to his old ways. He's a very talented wide receiver, one of the better ones in the game, I'd say. And he's obviously a smart guy, great analyst. I love him on Showtime. But he does have some problems. I'm wondering if in this preseason we're going to see some of that stuff unravel.
Well, he is bipolar. I believe that's what he was diagnosed with, and he has a lot of issues. But he hasn't really had any big issues for a few years now. Now the stuff arising, it's definitely interesting. And you just want to talk about the whole Jets situation as a whole. I think they've made a lot of good moves by letting Chris Ivory walk. I don't think he's that good of a running back. He went to Jacksonville, 5 years, $35 million. And he got Fitzpatrick back for a 1-year deal. It's going to make like $12 million. He might even make $15 million off the 1 year, which I thought was a fair deal for him. You're trying to build a team around him. This is really his first well-rounded situation he's ever been in, because when he was in St. Louis or Cincinnati or Buffalo or Tennessee or Houston, it wasn't really stable. This is his most stable situation. He threw for 31 touchdowns last year, and he did really well. So I think they have a lot to look forward to, this Jets team, but they also have a really, really tough schedule as well. You forget about that. To start out the year, the first 6 games, it's just nuts. They start out against the Bengals, then they're in Buffalo, in Kansas City, versus Seattle, at Pittsburgh, at Arizona, against the Ravens the next game. They have a lot of really – and they don't even play the Pats yet in those first 6 games.
Yeah, the first 6 games, they could very well go 0-6.
Yeah, they could. They're not that great of a team.
I think they're a borderline playoff team, but you have to take into consideration the difficulty of their schedule. It's going to be tough. And in those first 6 games, they're not playing the Patriots once. And that would have been the time to play them, if anything, because you got those first 4 games without Brady. But I still think the Jets, they're a decent team. They're a borderline playoff team. I think they played the Fitzpatrick situation perfectly, it turns out. Waited till the last moment, but they got him. And I think if they had Geno Smith, they wouldn't be the same team. They wouldn't be in a position to fight for a playoff spot. But they got Fitzpatrick. And the fact is, these first 6 games is going to be tough, but I can see them winning 2 of them. I mean, the tough thing is they're at Buffalo and in Kansas City, and they're also in Pittsburgh and Arizona. So those are 4 out of those 6 games are also on the road. It's just going to be really tough. And I think those first 6 games are going to tell us all we need to know about this team in the regular season.
Here, look, and with Fitzpatrick, I know he just signed. We haven't really gotten to talk about this yet. But he's a guy that was saying, look, I see Sam Bradford getting 2 years, $36 million, $18 million guaranteed. I see Chase Daniel on the Eagles making $7 million next year, and you want to pay me $9 million? I played way better than both of these guys last year. Chase Daniel didn't play, and you want to pay me $9 million? That's ridiculous. So now he got 12 with a $15 million incentive, and that's a smart deal for the Jets because it's a lot of money, but it's also 1 year.
Yeah, it's not much of a commitment at all. You're not going to cut him this year, so why not just spend the cap on this guy who you know is going to be a decent quarterback for you?
And look, and also they've got a few young guys that they think could be the future. Obviously, they think that Christian Hackenberg could possibly be something. They took him in the 2nd round, 51st overall.
I think that was a stupid pick.
And they're gonna have him backing up Geno. He'll probably be 3rd string. And they're going to see maybe if he can be their guy for the future. They wanted to try on him. There were a lot of mock drafts of Hackenberg going in the 1st round. Who knows? The Jets like him. They want to see maybe he could be their future guy. If not, then you go elsewhere, maybe build through the draft, build through free agency, or another franchise quarterback. They haven't had a franchise quarterback They thought Mark Sanchez would be it. He's not.
So
And
you think that Hackenberg's going to be above Bryce Petty in the depth chart?
yeah, I do. I really do. If you took him in the second round this year, they're definitely high on him. I don't know how his adjustment to the NFL is going to go, but they're definitely high on him now. They want to possibly keep him around for a while. So we'll see how it works out with him. We
I think
will.
this. I think this first season he's probably not going to get a ton of playing time.
No, he won't, and I don't think
I
he
mean,
really
he's not
will.
going to get any playing time. I think he might be a guy they don't even dress, to be honest,
Well,
because
he's
they're
going
going
to
to
be on
have.
the roster, and he's going to. They might
So
cut.
they're going to carry four quarterbacks, or Bryce
No, they
Petty's
would
going to be
cut Bryce Petty. They would cut Bryce Petty.
See, I don't know. I think Bryce Petty might be better than Hackenberg.
Well,
I've heard.
Well, obviously, who's to say who's is better, who's not? Hackenberg hasn't played. All I'm saying is the Jets are really high on him. They took him 51st overall, and they're obviously they want him to be a part of their team. You don't really cut second round picks much often.
So you don't. Okay, I just think this was a stupid pick. That's where I stand. I just don't think they should have taken him that high. So I'm not
Well,
going to say he's a guy who's the future of this team or he's going to be the quarterback in a couple of years. I don't think he's very good. I
well,
think he was iffy in college, and I don't think they had a need to pick a guy like that in the second round when it's just a crapshoot. If you're gonna
well,
pick a quarterback, pick a guy who you think is gonna be a short thing. And I don't think Hackenberg's that guy
Well,
personally.
they clearly think that he will be. They see a guy that played in a pro style offense in Penn State, and they think that he showed a lot of promise, and they think that he could possibly be their guy. I don't know. It's just going to be a wait and see with them. But obviously, the AFC East is going to be interesting. I think the Bills are going to still be around the 7-9, 8-8 range. The Jets will probably be around there too, in my opinion. And it's just going to be the Pats division. I mean, and the Dolphins, I think, could easily end up being a 10-win team, in my opinion, and they could end up being that taking that next step because of Adam Gase. Because if Adam Gase doesn't do well this year and change his team, because Joe Philbin was awful. If Adam Gase doesn't come in and revamp everything and change things up with Arian Foster, with that defense that's so good, that's just used so wrongly, then they need a big change in Miami. But
I think the
definitely a
problem
lot.
in Miami is their quarterback and just the personalities they have in that team.
Well,
And
maybe
just one
Adam Gase
second,
will fix it.
going back to Christian Hackenberg 1 second. So I'm looking up his stats. Does it not concern you that in 2013, when he had one of the best coaches in college football at the time, Bill O'Brien, he had a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio and a 134 quarterback rating. The following season, 109.4 quarterback rating, 12 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, and then the following year, a career low, 2,300 yards, a
Okay,
one
yeah,
two.
but also look at the context of that situation. They had the whole Sandusky incidents right around that time.
It was before that time.
It was
This
a
before.
really dysfunctional situation. He
Yeah,
was
but that was already in dysfunction when he got there, so that's unrelated. I think Hackenberg. I think it was a stupid pick. You need a very good offensive-minded coach to have him produce. And when O'Brien left, there was clearly a hole in that team. There's clearly a hole there, and I don't know. That's where I stand on it. Going back to the Miami situation, um, I don't think a guy like I don't think a guy like Tannehill and a guy like Ndamukong Suh is are people who should be leading your teams on either side of the ball. I just think
well,
there's a personality problem on that team.
yeah, and I do, and I think Adam Gase could fix that. I don't know if it's likely that he will, but I think that he could do a lot of good with this team and get the most out of them. But we'll see. He still has a lot of work to do. I
I
just I think that with everything going on, it's the Pats division easily. They're going to go at the very least 2-2 these first four games. They're going to run away with it like they always do. But needless to say, very excited about football coming.
Absolutely, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Dolphins are in the basement of the AFC East.
Oh, neither
Uh,
would I. Look of those three teams. If you were to tell me in any order of that what they finish in second, third, and fourth, I wouldn't be surprised in any
yeah,
order. And it's the
it,
Pats division, and they're just such a great team, great coach. It's a joke. They could
how do
have
you think?
Garoppolo. They could have Garoppolo all year, and I think they would even still probably win it.
So how do you think they're going to do in those first four games? They play. I'm going off the top of my head. They're playing the Cardinals, the Bills, the Texans, and who's the fourth team? Cardinals, Bills, and Texans. I think it
Dolphins
might
too.
be what?
The Dolphins week two.
And the Dolphins. So do you
Well,
think they're going 2-2, 3-1, 0 for
we haven't seen Belichick operate with a different quarterback than Brady since '08, and it still went well. It took a little bit of time, but it still went well. They
and
made the playoffs, and they were 11-5 this year. I think they're going to at least go 2-2, and I don't know what games they'll win or lose. I think they'll beat Buffalo week 4. That'll probably be a win. Maybe I don't know. It's really contingent upon how much Garoppolo's learned in this last year. It really is. So we're just gonna have to wait and see with that. I think they're a well-rounded, great defensive team too. I think Belichick will figure it out. I don't know if I'll see them winning in Arizona, that Sunday night football game to start out the year. I don't think so. However, there's other games after that where Garoppolo will adjust, and that's going to be a big game for him. We'll learn a lot out of his mental toughness when he has to go in to play against the runner-up in the NFC last year in Arizona, Sunday Night Football, to start out the year against a high-powered offense and defense and a great coach team. We'll see a lot from Garoppolo.
I would be shocked if they win that game because they're in Arizona and they're going up against an unbelievable team, the Cardinals. Also, they just got Chandler Jones, so their pass rush is a lot better automatically. The one thing I will say is there's a lot more hype around a guy like Garoppolo than there was around a guy like Matt Castle. And I think that you look at what Castle did post-Patriots career, it was not very good. It's pretty average. He had maybe one good year with the Chiefs.
Right, the Pro Bowl year where they made the playoffs. And
but other than that, he wasn't that great. I think Garoppolo is probably an above-average quarterback in the NFL. I do.
We'll see. He has to learn and he has to grow as a quarterback as well. What I do know is at Eastern Illinois, when he played there, he broke every single record that Tony Romo had. When he was also at Gruden's QB camp, when I actually saw it in Florida, he was extremely high on. And I think Belichick's molded him these last few years into being a good quarterback. So we'll see how he does these first 4 games. And let me tell you this, too. I know that Belichick in that whole press conference was asked if Garoppolo does well, is he going to be the starting quarterback? I know he said Jesus Christ, but Drew Bledsoe had the same exact situation.
Drew Bledsoe was not the greatest quarterback of all time.
I know. But I'm just saying, obviously he's –
It's not, the only way Garoppolo ends up playing – the rest of that season is if Tom Brady gets hurt when he comes back.
No, I agree. I'm just saying that's true.
Never say never. I don't know.
Never say never.
I think I don't know. I can't.
It was a dumb question. It was a dumb question.
It was. It's not going to happen. It's just Brady is if not the best quarterback in the NFL, he's top 2, top 3. So there's like a 1% chance Garoppolo does anything good enough in those 4 games to take over that starting role. The thing that will happen, this is why I'm excited, because this tells you, one, if he's good or not. If he's a guy who, if he sucks, you can cut him and move on. And if he's good, you can keep him, and it's like Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. Or you can trade him for a first-round pick. So he can be a guy of value, or you can just keep him until Brady retires. So we get to see what this guy's all about.
I mean, I think they would keep him. I think personally they would keep him until.
It depends how good he is. If he's unbelievable, then they're going to be stuck. They're going to be stuck in a really tough situation.
Didn't they draft another quarterback too?
Jacoby Brissett, but he's not. He's a third string guy.
Third round?
No, I think he was a 4th-round pick, 5th-round pick.
Oh well, yeah, but still, I mean, maybe who knows? Who knows their plan? Who knows what they're going to do? I just want to get into a little bit enough about football.
He was a 3rd-round pick. You were right, but go on.
Going into now, I know we were talking about the Olympics. We were bashing them a little in the last show.
Yeah.
I yesterday with them on, I was just relaxing. There was this little Rio preset on my TV where it just showed all the channels that were broadcasting Olympics. I was just watching a bunch of different stuff, and I thought it was really cool and exciting, and I thought it was awesome. But my final thought here is tonight at 6 o'clock. I know this will, but Dario Saric is playing tonight for Croatia against Spain. Him and Bogdan Bogdanovic against Spain. I'm very excited to watch that. I'm very excited for the Hall of Fame game. Just excited that these sports are really coming because, it's basketball and football in the summer. You don't really have that often on the same day. You won't really have that for a while. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see how Saric plays. This is my first real look at him.
That's a worthy reason to watch the Olympics right there. I'll give you credit for that. If the U.S. doesn't win gold in basketball for men's or women's, it's an embarrassment. They shouldn't come back to this country. Other than that, there are some events that are kind of fun to watch.
Diving is pretty cool.
Diving's cool. Watching something like the just Michael Phelps swimming really fast in a pool. I can watch that for like 10, 15 minutes. But still, just a silly event. The IOC is so damn corrupt.
It is. It is.
That have you seen The Real Sports with Brian Gumbel?
Yep, I did see that.
It's ridiculous. They're accomplices.
Well, I also think that they're also like I think it is corrupt, but maybe people might be a little mad that it's all on NBC, and they're also trying to
no,
dude,
like
obviously it's corrupt too, but I think that if it like you won't see NBC bashing it at all because obviously it's on their networks. You know what I mean?
You don't see CBS or ABC bashing it either, and that's because they want to get the broadcasting rights eventually. HBO doesn't have a dog in the fight, so they're going to be as objective as possible.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think it was great journalism. I love that show personally. I think it's the best documentary series there is, or investigative series, whatever you want to call it. But it's so damn corrupt, and they're going back to Beijing, and I think 2022 or 2024, one of those two. It's messed up. My final thought. I'll talk Red Sox. Obviously, it's been a tough, month. The last time we had a show, I was saying they're going to make the playoffs. Eduardo Rodriguez is a key piece, and he has turned it around a little bit. A rough start yesterday, giving up 3 runs in 4 1/3 innings. And David Price has not found his groove yet. He's been super inconsistent, pitching a little bit better as of late, but overall he's been a major disappointment this season. And at this point, I don't think this team's gonna win in the playoffs. It might get that wild card spot, but I think at the end of the day, you got to fire Farrell, you got to clean house. I think a lot of it just comes down to the coaching and the managers. They have such a talented team. This team is way more talented than the 2013 team. They still cannot. They have the best offense I've seen a Red Sox lineup have in a very long time, and still they cannot manage to be atop the AL East in a year in which the AL East is good, but it's not super talented. You're clearly the best team in the AL East, if not the best, the most talented team in the AL in general with that pitching set. And this is all with Stephen Wright pitching like he is. He pitched a complete game shutout the other night. Rick Porcello has been the most consistent pitcher the Sox have had since John Lester, and Eduardo Rodriguez turning it around, and you got Drew Pomeranz. David Price is the only guy who's not doing well right now, and their bullpen has been very inconsistent. And I'm just really sick of seeing a Red Sox team that's not in the playoffs. And that's my final thought.
Well, you heard it all here. We'll be back next week. We'll be back with some guests in a few weeks. This is the John and Lebo Show. You can catch me on Twitter at JSOKKI. Also, the show's Twitter at John and Lebo Show.
And I'm at Lebo JR15, capital LEBO JR15 on Twitter. And yeah, we'll be back next week.